primary school, swimming in my middle and high school, fitness activities most recently. But these things alone do not tell who I am as a person. Unfortunately, there is not much information out there from the perspective of an autistic individual. So, people often stereotype based on what is shown in the media. One, one autistic individual is always different from another. But in spite of our differences, we share the concerns of communicating who we are to others without autism. That is one of the reasons I am here before you all to tell that autism is not a disease. It is just another way of thinking and looking at the world. Our brains are wired differently than most people's brains. Think of an Android phone and an iPhone. If you try to run an Android app on an iPhone, it just won't work, as each communicates differently. Likewise, just because we view and react to the world differently than most people does not mean we do not wish to interact and be part of the society. We just need a bit of support to blend in. This talk is a step in that direction. Okay, these are the topics of my presentation today. Firstly, I will be talking about my schooling years spanning from my early childhood to high school. I will talk about the importance of having a sensitized and accepting school environment, the need for early intervention to help a child with special needs. I will then talk about the impact of sports and physical fitness in my life. My parents are the most enthusiastic supporters, and I will talk about how they enabled my academic, non-academic, and personal development. I will then talk about the issues faced by a child with autism in India and the critical need for autism advocacy. Finally, I will conclude with my learnings. I will be happy to take up your questions and answers at the end of the presentation. I was a firstborn child. I have very little recollection of my early childhood, but I understand from my parents and close relatives that I was a very happy child, full of energy. In those years, there was a lottery system for admission to schools, and I got admitted to one of the most prestigious South Delhi schools. By the time I stepped out of nursery, my mother was called in and told that I was not involved in class activities, not coping up with my academics, was spaced out in class, unable to make friends, ran out of the class without the teacher's knowledge, and so the list went. My mother was asked to get me diagnosed. My diagnosis happened, and the psychiatrist wrote the words on my report that would rule my life forever: autism spectrum disorder. My parents were crushed. Even more crushing was the school's attitude when the diagnosis was shared with them. The attitude towards me and my parents changed completely. The teachers who were tolerant till then now focused on complaining. They went out of the way to put pressure on my parents to take me out of the school. My mother was called in as a shadow teacher for me. She was the default special educator, and all my work at school was shifted to my mother's shoulders. She had to put up with the comments from the principal and the teachers that spoke about how worthless they viewed my presence at school. You are wasting a seat. We have so many capable children waiting to take this place. Why don't you look at a special school for him? We can't handle him. We have a long wait list, you know. All this put immense pressure on me, and I felt demotivated, frustrated, and unwelcome for 6 long years of my life. When I look back, it is the experience which made me determined to do something to ensure that no child should undergo such an experience. The only saving grace was due to RTE. The school could not throw me out, and they allowed us the flexibility of attending an intervention clinic during school hours. My mother started therapies for me at an early intervention clinic with my first real teacher, who was a psychologist, Miss Parul Gupta, who really worked on my social skills. There, I had social skills therapy, occupational therapy, play therapy, and special sessions to improve my reading, writing, and comprehension skills. Thanks to these therapies and my parents' efforts, my awareness about myself and my environment came about slowly from my third grade. Slowly, I started learning subjects I liked. I also tried to get into the games my classmates were playing, but by then the damage was done. Most of my classmates had seen the utter disregard my teachers had for me and only followed in the same footsteps. Very few children were empathetic enough to include me in their games. This led to me moving away to play by myself. I would sit in a corner and play with the sand or pluck the grass. I was often bullied, never found a friend whom I could keep for long. Even if somebody in the park came up to me, my way of making friends was talk to them about my favorite cartoon characters and bombard them with questions till they walked away. Even then, I would run behind them, asking them more questions. Loneliness is a big part of autism, as the rules of socializing is alien to us. We really need to make a large effort to bridge that gap. Frustrated with the school, my parents had been trying to find a different school which would accept me, but the moment they said autism, the schools would not even accept their registration forms. My parents were always turned away. This is the sad truth about the vast majority of self-styled progressive schools in India. The turnaround in my life came when my parents shifted me to a new school in my fifth grade. By a stroke of luck, they discovered the Sriram Police Public School, a new school started by the Sriram schools known for their values and sensitivity towards special needs children. I was in the school till my ninth grade and then shifted to an equally wonderful school called the GD Goenka Public School. I took a year to settle down at the new school. I couldn't believe that the teachers or the students would accept me. After all, I was used to rejection by then, but it proved to be a different sort of experience for me. The teachers and the students were sensitized to my needs. They just let me be myself. For the first time, I felt accepted. After the first year, I started letting go of my pent up emotions, started focusing on my academics. I had a special educator who would create simplified work for me. By then, my father had also joined my mother in taking care of my academics at home. With all their help, I discovered I was quite good at math and science. My problem was with language and theory. I slowly started my move towards mainstream education. Though my school was not sure about this move, my parents supported me. When the first test results came out, it was a big surprise to everyone. While it wasn't excellent, it was poor either. It was not poor either. My teachers were pleasantly surprised too, and they also started encouraging me to go it alone without a special educator in most subjects. While my concepts were clear, getting the written format correct was very difficult for me. I hated writing. The initial years of middle school was a struggle academically. I had a short attention span and poor comprehension skills. It took me 4 to 5 times the normal effort to understand and process any information which I learned due to dyslexia. I was often irritated, anxious, and constantly worried. I used to stim extensively to cope up with my stress. My parents tried several sports like cricket, basketball, skating, football, but inevitably I found out some excuse to get out of them. Later, I realized that my social inaptitude and poor understanding of sarcasm and body language meant that I found team sports stressful. My poor muscle tone and gross motor skills was often ridiculed. I had by then slowly got into swimming in the pool at my society. My mother had tried to get me a coach, but following instruction was not my greatest strength. But I loved the water and staying in the pool most of the summer. I to float and then to swim. Swimming turned into a passion. I pestered my mother to find a professional school coach and promised her I would follow whatever instructions he gave. Many people discouraged my new dream of competing in professional swimming. They told me that professional swimmers learn swimming from a very young age. Starting to learn was not going to help me. But once again, my bullheadedness won. I started learning and put in more than 2 hours a day in a rigorous swimming schedule. Soon, I was deemed fit to participate in competitions. I participated in open districts, open states, and open national competitions, and many inter-school competitions too. Finally, I did get 2 gold medals due to my persistence. There were some side effects to my rigorous swimming practice, all good though. My stimming reduced, attention span increased significantly, and I was very calm. My muscle tone, stamina, and fitness increased drastically. I did the 10-kilometer run, won medals in athletics in school sports day, went to gym or swimming for at least 2 hours a day every single day. It boosted my self-esteem and my physique, and bullies stopped messing with me. My parents consulted Dr. Satyendra Walia for a detailed assessment periodically to understand my strengths and areas of improvement in academic areas as well as my personality. I'm lucky to have parents who complement each other. I have a drill master father and a highly empathetic mother. My father enjoys math and science, and my mother loves language and comprehension. My father focused on my executive function, on my social skills. My father adopted the drill master's rule, which I found to be very intimidating during my initial years. His mantra was no self limiting behavior. He always told me not to allow others to define what you can or cannot do. You define your own limits. He inculcated zero tolerance for shortcuts or shoddy work when it came to concepts. I need reinforcement and was very patient with me and made me practice, and even more practice till I got it right. He has a relentless focus on executive function skills and helped me learn how to organize, plan, and prioritize. He taught me that for things of high priority, if you start a task, then you need to stay focused on them till completion. For my board examinations or my college, I have been able to organize myself and plan my time thanks to my father. I have noticed that quite a few parents of children with disabilities are tempted to make all the decision for their child. They tend to overprotect them as they underestimate their own child's capabilities. They have some preconceived notions about what their child can or cannot do. And any child's developmental strategy revolves around the needs of school or society rather than the needs of the child. These are some of the ways my parents helped me grow beyond academics. They guided me initially, but slowly started allowing me to take my own life decisions. They supported me when I told them that I wanted to join a mainstream class. I had a very poor muscle tone and hated sports. When I decided to pursue competitive swimming, my parents had their doubts, but still helped me pursue it. They allowed me to take risks and encouraged me even if I failed. They always involved me in every decision impacting me and take my opinion seriously. They completely supported me when I wanted to be open about my autism and helped me understand how to communicate it to others initially. They created a progression chart to help me understand my journey, how autism defines me, and how to articulate my strengths and weaknesses to myself and to others. Due to the sustained efforts of my parents, school, and a progressive board like CBSE, I have been enabled to live up to my potential. I got 83% in grade 12 boards, 92% in grade 12 boards in science stream. I also won the subject topper award in computer science in grade 10. I have the honor of being one of the youngest speakers invited to be a speaker at a TEDx event being organized by my school. I have appeared for AP Calculus examination conducted in US, got a perfect score of 5, given to the top 20% of students worldwide. I have completed and received certifications for several online courses on software programming, including 5 courses offered by University of Michigan on Python specialization, 4 courses offered by Codecademy on data science. I am in the process of completing machine learning course offered by Stanford University online. I have completed my SAT examinations and awaiting results. I am able to cook, travel by public transport, shop for myself, and learn how to manage finances. I am mentoring several children on the spectrum. Most schools are either in the learning phase or worse, do not have a culture of providing inclusive education, especially for students with invisible disabilities. The negative perception, myths, and stereotypes around autism ensures autism looks like a bad, scary thing. Autistic people are a burden on society. Autistic individuals cannot decide for themselves. Autism is a disease. Even well-meaning people express pity rather than understanding and acceptance. The consequences of these wrong perceptions are mass majority of children with autism, regardless of ability, are forced to opt for special school or open schools. There is a tremendous barrier to employment for autistic adults. There is no effort to create neurodiverse methods of learning. Normalizes bullying and hurtful behavior. They prefer to keep us separated from non-disabled people. Everybody else decides what is good for people with autism except autistic individuals. As I dug in, the information I got was disheartening. I was going through similar experiences in my schools with my peers. I could look for pity from them or I could help them understand my situation. I decided it. I must say, I stumbled into self-advocacy. When I had to change schools during my 10th grade, my classmates had no clue about my condition. My experiences in my new school pushed me towards self-advocacy. I had difficulty making friends, especially in high school. High school was a lot different from middle school. Many students who used to bully me because I was different. Whenever I used to complain about it to my teacher or counselor, they would talk to the whole class about it. But even the students who were neutral to me would simply say that nothing happened. On the other hand, the bullies would turn the tables on me by saying that I started it. And since they were in the majority, I used to face the consequences and get scolded. No one in my class was even willing to sit with me. I was all by myself. At that moment, I was so nervous and depressed that I requested my parents to shift me to homeschooling, but they refused. I began to think what I could do to change the situation. I understood that my classmates had no idea what autism was. Even when I would tell them that I behaved in a particular way as I was autistic, I would only get a confused stare. I thought, if I told the whole grade 12 about autism, how it affects an individual, and what changes can be made to make them feel included, maybe things for the better. So I began autism awareness program for my entire grade 12. It gave some mixed results. While there was no immediate change in attitude, slowly I could see people stopping to say hi to me in the corridor. Better still, I started noticing that some students did make an effort to be nicer to other students with invisible disabilities too. I told my parents that I wanted to spread autism awareness among schools. They were happy about my decision but told me to start it after my board exams got over. Since then, I have been able to reach out to many schools and NGOs and started doing webinars on autism awareness. So far, I've been able to conduct 6 webinars and the response has been encouraging. I enjoy interacting with others and I've mentored more than 5 children on the spectrum. What exactly is advocacy? Self-advocacy is learning how to speak for yourself, making your own decisions about your own life, learning how to get information so that you can understand things that are of interest to you, finding out who will support you in your journey, knowing your rights and responsibilities, problem solving, listening and learning, reaching out to others when you need, learn that you are in control of your own life. Why must we self advocate? So that you have the knowledge needed to succeed and are given the chance to participate in decisions that are being made about your life. No one knows you and what you need better than you. Parents will not be there in college and in life. People aren't mind readers for support to get it. If you don't stand up for yourself, you don't get respect or you are taken advantage of. Self advocacy builds self sufficiency. So, some important tips are: be aware of yourself, what autism means, your strengths and your challenges. Learn how to articulate what accommodations you need and why. Participate in all decisions that impact you. Don't assume everyone knows about autism. Speak up and educate them. Embrace your disability. Wait, just embrace your disability. Do not be shy or be defensive about it. Don't let others define what. So this is my Nurturing Neurodiversity project. The aim is to create awareness about neurodiversity and promoting its acceptance, alter profound bias in the education system from a deficiency approach to differences. So the project aims to create a document based on policy changes for promoting neurodiversity, best practices for promoting neurodiversity in schools, send petitions to the government based on these suggestions, seek the help of NGO or parents, autism advocates, or professionals to reach out to more than 200 schools with specific recommendations on promoting neurodiversity in schools. Create a website to promote neurodiversity. Use it to mentor other children facing. Run an anti-bullying camp in schools. Acceptance does not happen on its own. Let's join together to facilitate acceptance of autism in schools, society, and workplace. So these are my learnings. Autism is a strength if channelized properly. It is a liability if you allow it to be so. Do not look always. It's okay to be different. Work on minimizing the impact of your negatives while leveraging your positives. Play a sport actively. It helps you calm, makes you physically and mentally strong, serves as a harmless outlet for your frustrations. Set your own benchmarks and strive to exceed them. Do not lower your benchmarks based on the feedback from people who do not understand you. Reach out, discuss with people around you, create awareness about invisible disabilities. Try to learn life skills like planning your activities, buying things from shops, going to your hobby classes by public transport, etc. This helps you become more confident and to have self-belief. Do not look for pity from others. Work for empathy and acceptance. You may or may not find it, but never stop trying to. I don't talk about autism for sympathy or pity. I talk about it to open a door into our lives, to help others understand, to educate and build acceptance for children and adults living with autism. Thank you. I am now open to questions. I am sorry, I could not hear.
Hi Rudraksh, are you facing any issue?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
Sorry, will you share screen again now?
Are there any questions?
Yeah. Hi Priyadarshini. Now you are on mute. You may ask a question from Rudraksh.
Yeah, hi Rudraksh. It's been a brilliant opportunity to, listen to your experiences and the way you have taken yourself forward. And you have really inspired a lot of youngsters, mothers, parents, and I would say parents in general, because it's quite informative to understand what an autistic child or any child with some special needs might go through if they are into a regular school, in a regular environment, and then there's bullying that you talked about. So my question to you is, since you've talked about self advocacy, and you tried it on yourself, you started talking about your condition, your behavior to your peers and to your schoolmates in particular. I want to understand what was their reaction once you started talking about yourself, because initially you said you would, take up the blame, and since you were cornered and there was nobody to, support you. So once you started self-advocating, how did the entire, equation change?
Okay. I always wanted to self-advocate, as I believed that I have gone through struggles and have reached a certain level. And I used to think at the point of so many, I used to think that I am not the only person who has autism. There are millions around the world. So there might be millions who are struggling. So I thought that I must help them. So there was frankly not much of, you mean reaction from me or reaction from others? Uh,
Yeah, so Rudraksh, my question to you that I wanted a perspective on was of the other kids who were trying to bully you in the school time. I wanted to understand how they reacted post you started, advocating about yourself, because it
okay.
is important for the environment and the people
So
around you to become
actually,
supportive of you.
there was a change. There might not be any reaction, but the people who started bullying me, they stopped bullying me. If I make friends, but the improvement was people stopped bullying me. But still, the thing was that
Okay.
I did not have any person who I could talk to, but it was fine with that. I was fine with that.
Okay. And since you also talked about, your father being a drill master when it came to, completing your task and not, allowing somebody to tell you what you can do and what not. So what would you suggest, the parents who have kids with special needs to maybe, take up some approach or kind of advice for them, how they can, handle their kids at home? Because obviously, few of them are taking therapies or help from some clinical help or something. But what is it at their home that would actually drive a child towards, creating a better life for himself or herself?
Um, I think I can talk from a perspective of a person with autism. If you want the perspective of parents, they, my parents might be able to better answer it.
No, I would like to take your perspective on this also.
Um, ba- my perspective. So it is very difficult to say. I have to look at the parents' perspective about it.
So, how was your experience while the entire journey that you have? You've taken some big exams, sat for good, with good scores and everything. What is your motive? Like you also working on neurodiversity, you said yourself. So,
Oh,
what is it that has
uh,
driven you other than
yeah.
just, spreading awareness? What are the pain points that you want to address and wants corrected? Hello, Rudraksh. Am I audible to you? Hello, Rudraksh. Am I audible to you? Hello. Okay, so Rudraksh, can you quickly tell us about, when you went to for higher studies, post college, post school, sorry, getting into colleges and that environment and choosing a career for yourself. How did you make up your mind to get into a certain stream and work about it? Hello. Hello.
Hi Priyadarshini, I think Rudraksh have some technical issues, so he will join again. Just a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. The
Okay.
connection went off. Sorry.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay. So there are a lot of people who are also asking questions about related to their kids, and I would like Shiv to maybe allow Samira to ask her question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure. Please allow Samira to ask her question.
Hi Samira, now
Hi
you may ask your
everybody.
questions.
Hi everybody. Thank you so much for this talk. My question to Rudraksh is, it seems that he had an insight into his condition. How
Yes.
was that? What helped him to have that insight? And if a child, even at 18, he doesn't have an insight into his condition, what is the proper way and proper time to make him aware how he is different from others?
I think this thing, the parents must guide them. Like shying away by hiding that you are normal, it doesn't actually make sense. The child needs to be aware that he has problems, he or she has problems, and if they realize that, it can equip them, they can equip themselves to think to solve it. So my parents told me that I had autism when I was 12 years old, and but I only started being open about autism when I was 16. Maybe if I would have started being open about it before, maybe I could have got more acceptance. So the earlier people are open, the more chances that they can get accepted. My mother is here. If you want, you can ask her any questions.
Just in case you need me. Otherwise, you can ask your questions to Rudra. Okay. It depends on the child's capability to understand.
Actually, it depends on the child's capability to understand. But actually, there is a way to guide them towards it. So,
You can
so someone asked that we want to understand how difficult was inter of finding schools in India for kids with autism.
Can I step into that? For that? Okay. Yes, it was not at all easy, as he said in his presentation. It was quite difficult because the moment you talk about special needs, many schools just clam up and they do not, some of them would not even allow me to buy their registration forms. So yes, there has been a lot of resistance from schools to open up to children with different abilities. But I think we have to be persistent. The government has rules and regulations now. It's now mandatory for each school to accept special needs. And I think as parents, we need to understand our rights and stand by it. I think, we also need to understand that we have to support the school in whatever way possible, because the school might not have any idea or clue about how to go about it, how to go about integrating these children into the mainstream, and they might cause damage. So it's better to, for the parents, there has to be a kind of a handshake between the parents and the school, and preferably a professional also, so that the professionals can provide whatever inputs there needs to be for making sure that the inclusion happens smoothly inside the classroom.
So one question I've got is, does doing sports help you overcome the fear of social communications? Yes, it does, but to a certain extent. But the most important thing is autism has symptoms like stimming, and so there are autistic people like they many times find it difficult to focus on topics which they don't like. So what I think is that sports helps people with autism overcome stimming and also improves their attention span and also the self-confidence. That is more important.
Hi, my second question is about medicines. What is your opinion about giving medicines in this disorder? Like people will prescribe propranolol or aripiprazole.
Okay, so I'll just tell you that like many times psychiatrists told my mother and my father to give me medicines, but my parents have not been convinced by it. So I've never had medicines for me to cope up with my autism.
Can I also take that over? Yeah. So yes, he's right. That was a fact. But recently, we've also been going through some, we also as parents do keep researching into aspects of autism and what helps, what does not help, etc. And right now, earlier I was completely against giving medication because I wasn't sure about the side effects. I'd seen one of my, one of the other parents tell me that her child became very sleepy and sluggish after having those medicines. So I was very worried at that stage. So I did not want to take on any medicines, and we only did behavior management with him. So, but right now with the current stretch of research that's coming out, I'm right now on the fence. Maybe, things would have been much easier for, us as parents and him as a child if he'd had those medication to maybe help him focus more when he needed it more. I am really not sure. There is no right or wrong answer to this. So I guess it all depends on each person's experience. So right now, I will not say it's wrong or right. We've not tried it for Rudraksh, but yes, it was a very hard climb. Maybe that might have become a bit easier with medication. I'll return it back to Rudraksh. Okay. There's one more question to the mother. Have you ever faced any behavior issues such as repetitive words with Rudraksh? He did not have echolalia, but yes, there were words. Yes. Can I just finish this? So no, he had never had echolalia, but he initially in his when he was young, he couldn't actually communicate well. So I actually he would get distracted so soon. If he was very angry, it was very easy to distract him for that by showing him a car or showing him something else, a tree in bloom or something. And initially it was very easy to handle him, but then I thought that's not the right way. And after 5 minutes, if I asked him, why were you angry? He wouldn't remember why. So I actually had to make him stand, make him understand, were you angry because mama switched off the television or something like that? But, I had to make him repeat and do it again. And that was how, but he has never had words he would repeat that way. Yes, somebody else had a question for Rudraksh, I guess.
Hi, Aditi. You have any question? Ask, please.
Yeah. Hello, Rudraksh. I'm Aditi, and my son Ishan is with me. He's in 6th standard. Please say hi.
Hello, Rudraksh Dada.
Yeah, so actually, we had been following your talk. Yes, Ishan is in 6th grade, and he's also on the spectrum. So I would like to ask you as a mother, because today I have been talking to Ishan about his autism, very recently. So he is identifying with some of the features, but at the same time, he's having issues towards accepting, no, it is not autism. I don't have a problem. So how was it for you when your parents talked to you about autism?
Wrong thing.
No, it's the right thing. So you can hear.
Rudraksh Dada.
Yeah. So Rudraksh, if you could explain.
I'm doing maths in front of my mother. This is my mother.
you are an inspiration to many, Rudraksh. That's why I made Ishan sit and listen to you. So if you could say, how was it for you to accept autism, that you have autism and it's not a disability.
Ishan, I have autism and actually I'm proud of it. What I've done is, autism has positive and negatives. So I've tried to eliminate as many negatives as possible and keep the positives.
Yes.
Just what helped me.
Thank you very much, Rudraksh. And I have one question, because Ishan loves maths. As you said, I find you're brilliant in maths. But one thing, as in autism, understanding language is difficult. So Ishan faces a lot of problem when problem-based sums come. Understanding the pragmatics of language. Was it the same for you? And how did you?
It was the same for me. Even I initially, when I used to do math, very basic, like 1 + 2 or some direct questions I used to get, but problem solving, when they asked word problems, I used to struggle. But over time, due to the efforts of me and my dad, I coped up with it, and now I'm able to comfortably do that also.
Thank you so much. We wish you all the best, Rudraksh, in your future.
It helps if you mark the keywords for word problems.
Yeah.
If you start annotating,
Yes.
or color coding, that helps a lot. Especially keywords for addition. It's not a foolproof way. If it's a tricky problem, but overall at school level, I think that if you start off with annotations at the very beginning, using color coding, underlining, etc., that really helps, because a lot of our kids, they learn so much more better when it's more visual and it comes out for them.
Right, ma'am. Thank you. We have been trying that, but again, online education now has made it so difficult.
Can I suggest one thing?
Yes,
because math has a lot of abstract concepts.
Yes.
There is something called Singapore math.
Okay.
It's a concept. It's called Singapore math, and there are a lot of books available also on Amazon, etc. You'll find a lot of worksheets. What Singapore math does is it makes the abstract into, it gives it a visual thing. So it's much easier for the children to understand even word problems that way.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best, Rudraksh.
Hi, Renu. Now you are unmute. You may ask your question now.
Hello, Rudraksh.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Hello, Rudraksh. Nice to listen to you. I am mother of 10-year-old son. I just want to ask how your mother coped with the behavioral problem, as well as the lots of complaints from the school. I get tired of that, and sometimes I get irritable.
Yes, my mother is right here. She may answer.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, it was an issue. The first school was extremely unsupportive in a lot of ways. I mean, they did try, but I think they did not have a culture or any understanding of how to help children also. So I was literally struggling with them. I mean, I was a shadow teacher there. So I was sitting in the class with Rudraksh, and then I was moved to the library after, it became a bit too much for him. Having me 24/7 with him was getting to be a bit too much. So I requested the school, and they put me in the library, and they said, as and when we need you, we'll call you over. So I think the only way is to open up ways of communicating. In the beginning, I was so scared. At that time, the RTE had not put autism in the list of disabilities when he was a kid. And I was so scared that the school might use it to throw my son out, that I was literally a doormat in the initial years. And after they put in RTE, that was a big respite for me as a parent. And I started, even before I had started getting letters from the psychologist, I called the psychologist over to speak to the principal or the counselor. The counselor did speak. You have to explore ways. You have to explore ways in which you can communicate what needs to be done. Like your child has to be in the front of the class, or, right next to the board. And if the child is moving around the class, Rudraksh used to walk around the class a lot. That was again an issue. If you could just ignore that, the teachers were told to ignore certain behavior. See, at the end of the day, it is also up to the school to decide what all they take on and what they say. It's not going to be convenient for us to do this. But, the more you put in that effort, I think, it does change the perception of the teachers and the principal sometimes. When they see that you're not just foisting your child on them, but you're actually helping streamline the growth of the child. At the end of the day, teachers are educators, and their ultimate goal is to move a child forward. But for them, most of them, it's lack of awareness of how to handle these children. Rudraksh used to tell a teacher, "You're ugly. That's why I don't like you." And she used to take it very personally, He would tell her, "You're fat. I don't like that."
Same happened with me. Same happened. And one more thing I want to ask, how the Rudraksh was taking it. What was going in his mind at that time? Ki teacher complained to the mother. Then how he think for that?
I think he can answer that.
The question was not clear.
No.
I just want to ask, what was going inside you when teacher complained about you to her? The Rudraksh has done this, Rudraksh has done that.
Okay,
Same
actually, let me tell, I don't recollect much of my primary days, but what I know is whenever I was in front of the principal or my teachers, they never used to complain against me. They were very nice to me. But when they wanted to complain, what they would do is they would take me out of that room, and they would tell that we want a personal meeting with your mother, and I would go away, and then they would complain to my mother. They used to complain to my mother very badly.
Yes. Then what went in your mind that time?
Oh, I actually this thing I did not even know that my mother was suffering through that much, because I was not present when the teachers and the principal were complaining.
We told this to him much later. At that stage, all he understood was that he was in school, and he was in a haze. He was in his own space. He did not even know the person who was sitting next to him. He did not even know the name of the person sitting next to him.
Sometimes, madam, sometimes my son does the activities that everyone make fun of him. Like he spitted on the child. Sometimes a child abused him. The children didn't understand that what my son was to him. But he spitted, and then teacher came and shouted on him. Why you have done? Then my son replied that this is the reason that it saved me from other child. When I spit, the children didn't come to me. So it's the way how I tackle with him and teacher, that the spitting is for his protection. He is spitting because he is protecting himself from other children. So it is very tough to tell the teacher that other children are making his fun or doing bulimia with him. So how to tackle with these problems?
No, we use social stories with Rudraksh a lot. Basically, we used to make stories of the way he needs to interact, when to ask for help. I'm not at all a creative person. The only thing I can do is write. So I used to make PowerPoints, with the stories, in slides. And I used to go through it with Rudraksh every day. As to when to ask for help was one, what others, and I would take situations from his actual life. And I would talk about Rudraksh being in a safe place and another child whom Rudraksh has to help. So you can build empathy that way. Rudraksh had, he didn't display any show of empathy for another child at all when he was young. I mean, that was something we had to really, really work on. Even if he had empathy, he wouldn't know how to show it. He would feel bad that some child had fallen, but he would sometimes even laugh. And when I would ask him, why did you laugh? I thought that was funny, if a child falls. So it was like that. So we had to teach him, we had to coach him that, if you fall, trying to put himself into those shoes was another issue. So we had to use a lot of social stories like this and explain to him that this is how the other person feels. And likewise, we've also used it for him to seek help. If somebody is not, he wanted to join in the games, but nobody's helping him, we suggested use choices. You can move aside and play by yourself, or you can try to request one more person if you want to. He was never comfortable going again to a person if once he was rejected. So then, give them a choice. It always helps when you give them a choice, they'll always pick one at least. And so that way, I think it will work better.
Thank you. Thank you, Rudraksha.
Hi, Sanvi, now you are unmute. You may ask your question now. Please. Sanvi, are you able to hear me? Hi, Shanvi. Okay, now I'm just unmuting the Dr. Nupur Mishra. You may ask your question.
Yes. Hello, ma'am. Hello, Rudraksh.
Yes. Hello.
Ma'am, hello, Rudraksh. You are doing great. Thanks for supporting us. I also have a son who is 4 years old. He has been, we have found that he is mild autistic. He is not writing at all. So can your mother can help me how to help him start writing? And he gets irritated a lot.
No, the Rudraksh is no different. There was a lot of resistance to reading and writing. There is still a lot of resistance to reading, but I think his resistance to writing was overcome only when he reached 9th standard. With growing maturity, when he understood that there was no option, even then he would only write in points. Like it was his father who kept on telling him there are no shortcuts. In English you cannot write in points. In EVS you can, but so things like that. So, but now in class 10, 11, 12, he was very keen on scoring marks. He felt that was a way to earn the respect of others around him. So that's when he started putting more effort. I still remember when my husband or I used to tell him, you have to write the classwork. The teachers now expect you to do this because they have to show it to the CBSE board. The CBSE has certain rules, everything cannot be photocopied as before. So his initial notebook pages would have tears on them, So yes, it was a tough climb, but we really see
if you remember,
an education board can only do so much. It was really heart-rending for us, but we did not have a choice but to make him write. But the moment that resistance went away, when he understood that there is no way out, I have to do this. He hated it, but he started doing it. It takes a lot of time for our kids to process information that we say. For him, it took years. To understand that writing is a part and parcel of board exams. So he has to write a lot. So now he is able to write very fluidly and the resistance is completely gone. But it's taken a lot of years for him to come to this level. So I know it doesn't seem very positive, but I think, if we start working on them at this stage, we can move them forward, gradually to a certain stage. For my son, it took class 9. Maybe for your child it might be much earlier. Maybe you would start much earlier than we did. So
we have started occupational therapy, and speech therapy is already going on. And his speech is good, but the thing is that he is repetitive, and two-way communication is not there, but he can frame sentences, and he understands the environment. He talks with everybody. He's social, but repetition is there, and he's not writing. He doesn't want to write. So if you remember when Rudra started writing his first letter, if you remember?
see, he was always able to write. He used a lot of sand writing. I used more of chalk and slate in the initial stage, even though his school was not doing it on chalk and slate. I did it because his occupational therapist said that works better for fine motor skills. So I used that a lot, and he was able to do it, but his handwriting is still pathetic.
My son doesn't want to write, though he's 4 years old, but he doesn't want to hold a pencil. He just makes round and round and round.
No, I understand, but initially maybe try to give him those pattern things. Connect the dots really helped Rudraksh initially. Even today is A, B, C, D. The formations aren't exactly correct. He will start from the bottom instead of from the top. He will start from the side sometimes. So, but beyond a stage, we can't correct each and everything. So I think it's better to prioritize what we want our kid to do. If you want him to start writing, you can buy those initial cursive writing books, where they just have sleeping line, standing line, then a curve. Those really help. And you can make it like a reward chart. For our kids, instant gratification is very high. So you can give him a star. We started off with stars. I mean, reward charts really helped for us, where he had to work for something at the end of the day, but slowly, we had to keep changing our, our reward system, because once he would get used to one, then it was thrown away. So yeah, we need to keep rewarding them for every positive thing we see them do. And it's more like, he's taught us parents to smell the roses. He's taught us a lot of patience and to celebrate even the small achievements.
Yes.
I think our kids are amazing that.
Yes. Even the smallest thing we appreciate when he does something that is very good, and we appreciate by telling him that it is a good work and you are doing good. Ma'am, one thing more, as you know, at the time of Rudran, they may not be very mobiles. He may not be used to mobiles at that time, but the kids of these days see a lot of mobile. Like my child, though I've restricted him that he sees only 2 hours, 1 hour in the morning and 1 in the night. So as I've listened to you that you prepare PPT, you have prepared the PPT for your son to explain in the situations and all. So, at your time, does Rudransh also see videos? Though my son always listen to nursery rhymes, stories, he listens to stories also. He narrates small things also.
Narration was never there. Like I said, he's more logical. His logical and reasoning skills were very good, but his vocabulary was never up to the mark. His comprehension and vocabulary was always an issue. And we had to really work on that to bring him up in middle school level. So if you're talking about how you do this, we bought a lot of those Sterling games, educational games.
I
So
have
we
the
made him,
action words.
yeah, those were really helpful. But yeah, there were some he just rejected outright. Like what happens next? He would never touch that game. Memory game, yes. Finding pairs and all those things, yes. But we had to really work on it.
And then does he have that irritation problem? Because my son gets irritated. We cannot understand with what thing he's going to get. Though I understand many things with which he gets irritated, but sometimes I cannot understand. So
He's
does
4 years old, right?
4 years?
Yeah, don't worry. You'll soon establish comfort level with that. The initial years are going to be the toughest, where you're setting ground rules. Both of you are setting ground rules. He will be like, you can only push me this much, and you will be like, how much can I push you? So you will both come to an understanding after a little bit of time working with each other, and you will be able to recognize what his trigger points,
Yeah,
and
I
you learn to
understand.
avoid them.
I learn. I avoid a lot, but sometimes yes, as you can understand that we feel really
No,
like.
resistance is very high. Resistance is very high in our children. And I still remember 5-10 minute small worksheet homework will take up to 2-3 hours for me to get it completed by him, because sitting down will be an issue. Then making him pick up a pencil will be an issue. Then getting him to start will be an issue. Getting him to continue is another one. So, and intermittent breaks in between, screams, shouts, crying, everything happens in the beginning stages, but it gets better down the line. Once the children understand that this is something mama's not going to let go, they will come back on track. But there will be their own restrictions, which you will understand not to push beyond a certain stage. Giving them a lot
Yeah.
of breaks in between helps.
So Kanya, here I would also like to invite Ansh. Shiv, if you can enable Ansh's mic so that he can ask his question to Rudraksh
Yes, yes.
directly.
Now Ansh is on mute. Ansh, you may ask your question now, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ansh, are you here?
I'm not able to hear.
Ansh, if you have any question, ask please. Okay, I have one question from Ansh side. What age you started therapy for Rudraksh?
What therapies?
Yeah.
I've mentioned in my presentation, I've done social skills therapy, occupational therapy, comprehension, and reading therapies, and special sessions also.
Play therapy also.
Play
Okay.
therapy.
Okay. Hi, Pranjal. Now you have any question? Ask please. Now you are on mute.
Hi Rudraksh, you are really a great inspiration for all of us. I would like to ask you, like, was there any sensory issues when you were,
I did not.
can you hear me?
I have not faced any sensory issues.
There were some he faced earlier, like tiptoe walking. He would never like the sun's glare. But those kind of went away after he joined swimming. The tiptoe walking reduced with occupational therapy. The glare was there till I don't know whether it was he couldn't stand very bright lights, but would not cause an outburst in him. He would just walk away from there and move to a slightly, a place with a little bit more shade. But he's not got very strong sensory issues.
Okay, and my son is 6 years and he's not able to concentrate on academic, whatever the activities like alphabets, numbers and all. So he's not able to concentrate on that because the lateral case is there and he's not looking down towards the paper or whatever we are toward the book. So was there some issues you had faced in your case?
See, like I told you, resistance to doing academics was always there in the beginning. Till he decided, like he wants to go abroad and study. He was always keen because a lot of his cousins are in the US. So he was very upset with us that we did not move there. So, I mean, but he always wanted to go there. So we use that as a motivation to induce him to study. So you need to find a motivating thing, you know, something to motivate him to work on something that he really needs to. And slowly that becomes a habit. It takes a lot of time for the child to remove that resistance. And once they start doing it and they find it's not as tough as they thought it was, you know, I think they do a lot better. Basically, Rudraksh, when he was in his younger age, there was always a resistance to doing anything new. Or even when he moved to starting English was a problem, starting English writing was a problem, you know. So things he was comfortable with, he would do. Math was his easy thing. I mean, everything was direct. But written part, he would just tune out. He will not do it sometimes. So you have to chip away at that resistance by a lot of different techniques. You know, as a parent, you're going to have to be very creative while doing that. So, you know, I would suggest you can Google, you can find out what other parents are talking about. For me, I used Google a lot, and some of them worked, some would not work, you know, and it's just like trying to take something and modify it according to your child's needs.
Yeah.
I think creativity really plays a part in parenting.
So I just have one advice to all of you, that the problem is that majority of parents, what they think is that how they can improve their child. It is, but they're not thinking about the fact that how can society improve and adjust itself. It should be both ways. I think if it is in both ways, it can be balanced out. What
Okay,
can
so yeah, fine. You can continue, Rudraksh. Continue.
Yes, so
Whatever.
people need to think what is can school and society also what like the changes they can do so that they can cooperate with people with autism.
Okay. So, Rudraksh, since you've, really graced this platform with your insights, with your learnings, with your life journey, and it was really a brilliant session to have with you. And I hope all the parents and experts, whoever have joined here on this session, are really enlightened about a lot of things that are happening to the parents of the kids that they're dealing with, and the parents in particular. So I would just like to take a last few, words from you. How is your experience with this session, and what do you look up to for future in your life?
Okay, so thank you, and I've had a very good session with Mom's Belief, and you're asking about my future. So I am interested in fitness, autism advocacy, math, and CS. So what I plan to do is in future also, I do plan to continue my fitness activities. I do plan to do more autism awareness programs. And in college, I plan to major in math and minor in CS.
Okay. And what if I have to say, would you, since a lot of parents here that have joined the session are with their kids who are, under the autism spectrum, what would you like to, say to those kids specifically so that they feel, inclusive, they can, start afresh or maybe learn something out of it?
Okay, I think one symptom of autism is having monotropic interests. So whenever they feel depressed, at that time, like I myself have faced a lot of rejections with my peers. I used to sit all alone during break times. So what I used to do is I used to think of my interests, and I used to constantly think about it, and it was to a certain level a stress buster for me.
Okay, so that's a brilliant piece of advice for all the parents and for the kids themselves. And with this note, we would like to sign off from here. And Rudraksh, best of luck for your future. And we hope that you do great in your life. And we look forward to hearing from you again. Hope we do a session again and then talk about what else we can do and contribute to the society.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rudraksh.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.